Mr. Andres Chang. Hi, good evening, Andres. Welcome
Good
back to
evening.
Students.
Hello. Hello, good evening. Hello, everyone.
So, I would like to greet first our viewers. We have Coach Ida Manasan and Coach Hans Digno
Mm,
Santo, no, the one that I
mm,
played earlier. He has
ah,
just a new,
kape.
that's not really a new program, but he named it new. Okay, so thank you very much. So, Andres, it's really part three, and we learned so much from you. I would like to inform everybody that even we don't have a lot of live viewers, maybe because it's 7 o'clock in the evening, but at this point of time, I watched no, our page. There were around 200 plus people were reached, and from talaga namang marami ang nakaano, many people. That's 200 is 200. Di ba,
Mm,
address, no? It's still, no? And then when they share it to others, and
it's
so
growing.
it's
Mm,
growing, no? We have to
mm,
thank God for that. Okay? So let us
mm,
start the ball rolling, no?
mm,
We've learned so many things about really minimalism from you, Andres. No, it's really
mm,
something that we look forward this evening. I
mm,
believe that you were uh, really sharing last time about your mother, about your family. And can you tell us about the two grandfathers? Are they into minimalism also? Your two grandfathers? Would you mind
Well,
sharing with us? Yeah.
uh, actually, my four grandparents they are no longer around,
mm,
Oh.
um, and my my two grandfathers were very different men. They were very
Mm.
different. Yes, yes. My father's father was an immigrant from China, and he
Mm.
went
mm,
to Guatemala. He married a
mm.
Guatemalan woman. They had 9 children. My father is number 8, and
Wow.
Oh,
my grandfather, he started a small business, which became a big business. And when he
mm,
died, he was a wealthy man. He was a rich man.
mm, mm,
Wow.
And now my mother's father, quite the opposite. His father, my great grandfather, was an immigrant to Guatemala from Italy, and so immigration is just in my blood. I mean, it's in my DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I live here in the Philippines. Anyway, so he married a Guatemalan woman, and they had a son who was my grandfather, and my grandfather and his wife had 5 children. The first was my mother, and his name was Andres, and so my mother named
Oh.
me after him, and
mm,
which is funny because as it's very interesting. She again unintentionally or coincidentally had so much influence in my life. She named me after her father. If you look at the pictures, I look like him, and
wow.
he was a very he never owned a house.
Mm,
He never owned a car,
mm,
and he was a very quiet man. Um, he was you could say he was a minimalist in some ways, even though he never even used that term. But he was very well read. He was very intelligent. He actually spent some time
Wow.
in the United States. He had some people would define success in terms of money, and in that regard, my father's
Yeah.
father was successful.
mm,
In another regard, in perhaps we can say public service, my other grandfather was Don Andres. We say that in Spanish, Don. We use the word Don.
Good. Yeah.
I have a friend My wife's name is Arlene, and I have another Filipina friend. Her name is Arlene. So to differentiate, I call the friend Doña Arlene. Anyway, uh, so but my mother's father, he was sent by the Guatemalan government as part of a team of economists to go to the United States,
Wow.
study income taxes, and implement in an income tax system in Guatemala. So my other grandfather was very knowledgeable, very quiet. He was not a careerist. He really did not care for. He was very clean. He had very good manners. He was like we say it in Spanish also. We say muy educado, which means very good, very well educated, or like
Yeah.
similar to here in the Philippines. When you say educación, that doesn't necessarily mean you went to university. You didn't went to university. It means you have good manners also.
Yeah.
My grandfather, very much so. His personality was very different from mine. I have a very loud personality. He was very quiet. He was verbally, he was a minimalist. He really did not speak unnecessarily. He was known for that. He was known for being a quiet man, not speaking a lot. One thing that both cultures have in common, Guatemala and Pinas, and we even have the same word, which is chismes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe I don't know. Maybe one day we can have the Guatemalan chismes team against the Filipino chismes team, and we can see who are the better chismosos, right? Which country does it better, right? Anyway, but
Yeah.
my grandfather Don Andres, he was not into that at all, at all. When the story is one story I heard is that we have a lot of in Guatemala, like the Philippines. We have a lot of white people. We have a lot of mestizos. We have but the majority
Yeah.
of us are indigenas, and in Guatemala, a lot of indigenas, the majority live in poverty. And my grandfather Don Andres would not hide that poverty from my mother. He would take her to the window and he would make her see that
Wow.
there are people living in poverty. And I mentioned, I think last week or the week before, that uh, you cannot escape poverty in
Yeah.
Guatemala or in the Philippines or in poor countries, even if you're wealthy. And just another so, well, just one quick story. My uncle, my father's brother, uh, one time my cousin, the youngest daughter of my uncle, she said to him, he said, "Hey, it's dinner time. Come on and come here and sit down." And then
Mm-hmm.
my cousin said, "Oh, Daddy, I want to go to Burger King or McDonald's. I forget which one. This was in the '90s, I think." And then my uncle, who was the son of a rich man and grew up very comfortably, like all of my father's siblings, like all of his 8 siblings. And my uncle, I'll never forget this. He said to my cousin, he said, "Listen," he said to his daughter, he said, "Listen, there are many poor people who all they have to eat every day is rice and beans, and they thank God every day for that. They don't have McDonald's, they don't have Burger King, nothing like that." And so the but getting back to my grandparents. My father's father was a wealthy man, a wealthy Chinese businessman, like many of the wealthy Chinese here in the
Mm.
Philippines. He was not a minimalist. My but he really he and again, I'm not I do not intend to judge anyone, but
Yeah.
my grandfather, like a lot of wealthy men, it was never enough. For my father's father, it was never enough, and for my father, who is also a wealthy man, it's the same thing. It's not enough. You know, we have so many opposites in our
Wow.
lives, and it's so funny how we turn out. My grandfather Don Andres was a quiet man. His wife was a loud woman, a chismosa, and her name was Josefa, and her nickname, maybe you have this here in the Philippines too. A nickname for Josefa is Pepa, and so she
Peppa.
named my mother Pepina, which that wasn't a nickname, that was her name, which means little Peppa. And it's so funny that she did that because not only does my mother look like her mother and have a similar name, but also
Mm.
have a similar personality, very loud. And I am loud like my mother, but not like my grandfather, her father, who I look like. And my
Oh.
father is a wealthy man who is a careerist. He wants the money, he wants the status. And one of the reasons he and I don't get along is because I don't want the money and I don't want the status. Again, I'm not judging people. There's nothing wrong with being rich. My father's a rich man. His father was a rich man. I myself would like to be a rich man also, but not but I'm a minimalist. So then why do I want to be rich? I just want to be rich so I don't have to worry about money. So I don't have to
Mm-mm.
stress about work. Um, and actually, today, a few over the weekend, you may have heard, but there's a very famous Buddhist monk. His name was
Mm-mm.
Thich Nhat Hanh, and talk about. We were talking last week about how Catholic priests and Catholic nuns, how their vow of poverty is a form, can be a form of minimalism. This monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, he recently passed away. He was 90 something years old. He was a Buddhist monk. He What you could say is that he certainly practiced minimalism. He was not wealthy. He spent a lot of time with rich and famous people and political leaders, but he personally did not have a lot of wealth. We remember Mother Teresa. She spent a lot of time with
Yeah.
rich and famous people and powerful people, American presidents, the most powerful men in the world. She spent time with more. She met personally more than one, but she herself personally was not wealthy, and her vocation was to the poor. So the short answer. So that was really the very long answer, but the short answer is my two grandfathers were very different. My
Different.
yes, my father's father, Don Jose, was not a minimalist by any measure. By any measure, he was a rich man, and he liked to have money. He enjoyed spending money. He enjoyed
No.
traveling. When my parents were my parents, they were a young, beautiful, fabulous couple back in the 60s and 70s. I mean, they my mom went shot went I hope I like I said, I don't get along with my mother, so I hope she hears this and I hope she feels judged. Sorry, but she would go to my. I mean, imagine this: just a Guatemalan woman going to
Oh.
Miami every year just to go shopping. Maybe it was Christmas
Oh.
shopping, but oh, they had it. They looked they my father's family and my mother after not my mother's family, but my mother after marrying my father and becoming part of that family. Oh, they looked like gangsters. I mean, they had the flash, they had the bling. Oh, they had it all. But Don Andres just was not into that. He just wasn't into that. That did not appeal to him. That did not that did not motivate him at all. He was very much an intellectual. He was uh, and he did and he was not a proud man. And
Wow.
he did not say he did not say, look, he seldom spoke at all, but he certainly did not give the impression of, I'm proud, I'm arrogant, and that's why I don't need to speak. No, 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 no. He really was he really was a quiet man. He very bohemian. My grandmother, same thing. We all one thing we like, one thing my mother her mother and her father, the three of us, and my mother's brothers, one thing we all have in common is we're all attracted, maybe not to minimalism, but certainly to bohemianism. What I mean by that is art, literature, uh, those kinds of things. So you know, it's funny how things turn out. And to use a different example, you know, my wife, she's a OFW in
Yeah.
Poland, and she told me, well, yeah, okay, I'm getting in trouble, I don't care. I'm like, Wapa, come home. And then she tells me, okay, you give me 50,000 pesos allowance every month. And
Wow.
the thing that she doesn't, which I probably
Yeah,
could,
I know.
I'd probably be very angry about it. But she and I are different too. But you know, I like to go out and have fun. She likes to stay home and watch her Korean drama. And but she's a OFW in Poland because she doesn't need the money, but she wants to travel and she likes being an OFW. And
Oh,
her sister is here in Davao. What does her sister do? Her sister is a doctor.
oh,
You know, so I mean, you know, it's just really it's really funny where our lives. This is sadly
yeah,
the last show we're doing, so I guess it's kind of appropriate for me to talk about this. But it's
yeah.
just so we just never know where our lives are going to
Yeah.
turn out. I mean, when I was a young boy, and I was baptized in Guatemala, but I received my first communion and my confirmation in California, and there were a lot of Filipino Americans at my parish and in my neighborhood and my school, and funny enough, and I guess because of my appearance and because they saw me at church on Sundays, and my mom spent time with their moms. You know, sometimes my Filipino friends would ask me, "Oh, Andres, are you Filipino? No. Are you half Filipino? No. Is your mom Filipino? No. Is your dad Filipino? No." And this was in the '90s when I'm in high school, and fast forward 30 years later, I'm living here in the Philippines. My wife is a Filipina. You know, I never ever
Imagine.
would have never I couldn't even tell you where the Philippines was on a map if I back in the 90s. But
Yeah.
you know, it's just funny. And now and now I'm a minimalist, and I'm talking to both of you about minimalism, and you know, it's just how our lives, the different avenues they take, and the different things that happen beyond our control.
Poland.
I didn't, you know, it was beyond my control that my father one day decided, let's move to California. You know, I was just a little baby. I had no control over that. You know, some of us might feel out of control now because of
Correct.
COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things beyond our control. And it's just funny how life takes you places that you do not expect. You know,
Yeah.
I thought by this age, I would be living in California. I'd own a house. I'd have 10 children. They'd all be in Catholic school.
Yeah.
But you know, it's my life didn't turn out that way. And I'm not saying I'm not. Again, I'm not judging. I'm not saying one kind is better than the other. I'm just saying that uh, there are things beyond our control
Yeah.
that uh, are significant and important and have significant consequences, real consequences in our lives. I didn't know I had no control that one of my grandfathers was a Chinese rich man and my other
Yeah.
grandfather was a
That's true.
Guatemalan. He was never poor, but he just did not want money.
Yeah, imagine.
Mhm.
So there are
Yeah.
two opposites, your two grandfathers, no? But
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
able, but you live that kind of life, Andres, that you are able. And no, as what you have
Mm,
said, no, we don't have really the control of what is happening even in our family. But at the end of the
mm,
day, you have the choice. No, you made a choice that you come over to the Philippines and you want to be a minimalist, even with a, I believe, no, I do not know, correct me if I'm wrong, that you really were born with silver spoon in your mouth, no? As you have shared for the past 2 Tuesdays, that you have really that, but you chose to be here and to be a minimalist. That's really our choice of life, the way we live our life. No, because our ancestors, well, we don't have any control with them. You have a rich grandfather, and you have another grandfather who's very intellectual, but no, never wants money. You see, and then I believe that these are two personalities of your grandfathers that you really see into it, no? And then you made a choice. What life would you like to be, no, at this age of yours? Okay, so
mm.
Ate Mercy said, yes, she had, my net connection is really very, very poor. I will listen heartily na lang to all of you. Lorette, Rose, and thank you, Ate Merce, no? Talagang, her internet connection. And we do have, thank you, Ma'am Royelena Basque, for watching and for sending us a 50 stars. No, please support the Talk Live channel by sending us your stars. And I do not
Mm.
know also why I did not see all these people watching us. Thank you, Amilita. Thank you, Ami Ong, one of the catechists, also Ate Rose. And we have
Yeah.
Ismanya Katabay.
Mm,
And we have Kuya Cesar. And good evening, Coach Eva Morsiquillo. I miss you,
mm,
Coach. No? So they are watching us this evening. Okay, before
mm.
we will have our break, Ate, do we have another point for Andres to share with us, Ate Rose?
This is chismis. Chismis. Andres, where did you meet your wife? How did you meet? Yeah, chismis. Sige.
Well, uh, I was in the Philippines, and
Ah,
I woke up one morning, and then I leaped from my tree, and I grabbed onto a vine, and I swung to another tree, and then I climbed down to the beach, and I saw this beautiful naked morena climb out of the water, and
Oh,
ah,
she had a spear in her right
ah,
hand,
ah,
and on the tip of the spear was a fish that was
oh,
flapping. And so I was
oh,
still close to my tree. So I grabbed a branch, and in the traditional Filipino way, I yelled out my war cry, which is the same as my mating cry. And I ran towards her with my stick held high.
ah,
And remember, she had the spear in her right
yeah, yeah.
hand. And all she did was turn the spear this way. So the
Wow.
flat end is in
towards
front,
you.
and the
Mm,
sharp fish end is in back. And my
mm.
forehead hit the spear. And then I fell down, and then she
And,
grabbed me, threw me
and,
over her shoulder,
ah,
and took me back to her tree.
ah,
And then the next day, my family had to give her family four water buffaloes, three chickens,
Mm.
two turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree, and that's how we met in the traditional Filipino way. Okay, just kidding.
Ah.
No, the true story is even better, which is we met on the internet. I'm gonna get in so much trouble, but I don't care.
Ooh.
I'm gonna yeah. The real story is we met on the internet, and then
Mm.
so we decided to meet,
Mm.
and I saw her. She was very beautiful, and I said to her, I said, listen, you're really beautiful, but I don't have a car,
Mm.
and I don't have a house,
Mm.
and I don't have a lot of money.
Mm.
And well, by American standards, I didn't have a lot of money. And then she said to me, "Let's get married and have babies."
Oh.
Just like
So
that.
pretty much, we met in Taiwan. We
Okay.
our courtship was very brief. At this
Mm.
age, at
Yeah.
this age is I think courtships can be very quick.
Yeah.
We were both
Matured.
40.
Matured more.
We both knew what we wanted.
Mm.
So after a very brief, after being boyfriend and girlfriend for less than a very short amount of time, I'm gonna get in trouble for not knowing the specific dates and details, but we got
That's
we got
very
married.
important for a woman.
Yes, I know. And but we got married. Quickly, and
Mm.
we I'll tell you another funny story about that. We have and she's from Bohol,
Ah,
so
Oh.
Bohol, yeah. Oh.
they are. So shout out to
To the
everybody in Calate.
Boholano.
Hi,
Kalape.
hi, Mama. Esther Albit. If anybody knows Esther Albit in Calate,
Ah.
okay,
Kalape.
it's about half an hour scooter from the
Ah.
only McDo in Bohol, and then it's on just like when you give directions to the trikes and the
Yes.
delivery services. You tell them, oh, you go down that road, and then when you see that guy, you turn left, and then you pass the big cow, and then if you hit the only school, you're too far. You have to go back to the one rice farm. Oh, okay, yeah, I know where that is. Yeah. So we were talking, and we were engaged at this point, and we were of course talking about going to the Philippines, getting married, and in Spanish we also have the word beso.
Mm.
Beso. Beso.
Every country, we could do another show on this too. Every country has their different thing with besos. For example, in Guatemala, every time a man meets a woman for the first time, you give
Mm.
Mm.
beso.
Yeah.
Okay, if you don't,
Ah.
that's rude. So meet them for the first time. For the first time,
Ah.
when
Ah.
a man meets another man, no beso. But when a woman meets a woman for the first time,
Mm.
beso. Otherwise,
Ah,
that's
yeah.
rude.
Kiss on the
Mm.
Yeah.
cheek.
Yes,
Mm.
just one.
It's
And many countries. Anyway, so I said to Arlene, I said, um, uh, and everybody will know this because I say we because because I live in the Philippines too. We all have families who are in the provinces. So I says to Arlene, I said, I want to give besos to Mama. And
Mm.
then Arlene, she frowned and she said, Papa will punch you.
What?
Papa will punch you.
punch.
Ah, okay, okay, okay. Oh,
So,
Okay,
so
so
no beso, no beso.
right. It's different in the Philippines. It's different
Ah,
in the
different.
Philippines.
ah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also in the Philippines, you have the blessing with the hand. We don't have that in
Yeah.
Guatemala.
Mano.
ah,
We,
ah.
we mano.
We call
See?
it mano,
Mano
mano.
in Spanish is the
Mm,
same. Mano.
Same.
Mano.
Oh.
mano.
So
Yeah.
maybe we should have a short break, no?
Okay,
And then
okay.
we'll just come back. Hello. So we will let Andres back.
Ay,
Okay.
naku.
Sandali ha,
Hi.
parang
Mm.
naiiba ang ating libangan. So, Andres was sharing a while ago about the family, no? So, Ate Rose, may ano pa tayo? Do we have another question for Andres?
Meron ako. Ito, kuan ito, parang, we were told that you love history, na history.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
can you tell us if there's any difficulty, no, in keeping artifacts, being a minimalist, or is there is it it's will it not complicate your love of history with your being a minimalist? Kasi 'di ba history, you collect artifacts, no? You collect objects and all these things, no? So does it not go against, no, your being a minimalist?
Yes, it does. I was a history teacher in
Oh.
California, and museums and schools are very important to communities
Mm,
and to minimalists
mm,
because well, I should say to minimalists who have a love of history, because
mm,
those of us who are also historians. I'm a
Yeah.
historian and a minimalist, and that's difficult because I love old things. I love to collect old things. Um, in the movie, and I love movies also. In the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is an Indiana Jones movie, there's a scene where one of the villains tells Indiana Jones, a young Harrison Ford, he says to him, he takes off his watch and he
mm,
says, I'll just use mine. He takes off his watch and he says something like, I'm paraphrasing, he says, Dr. Jones, look at this. It's
mm,
worthless. I
mm,
bought it for nothing on the
mm,
street. I
mm,
bury it in the sand in 100 years. It's
mm,
priceless.
mm,
And that. So there's so much stuff that I don't want, but his old things like old phones, oh my gosh, typewriters. I love typewriters. I don't own any,
I've
but
been
I
looking
love them.
one.
ah,
Yeah, yeah. I love them. I was talking to a friend who was a little older than I am, and we were talking about. I was telling him, "Oh, you should watch this YouTube video, that YouTube video," and he was writing this. You should check out this website, and he was writing them down with a pen and paper. And I was just teasing
mm,
him. I said, "What's that thing you have in your hand, and that other thing that you have on the table?" And I was referring to his pen and his paper. Um, but it's difficult. I really want to keep things historic, specifically historical things. I want to keep them. I want to hold on to them. I want them to decorate where I live. And because I've had to move a lot, I've had to give up a lot of things.
mm.
Being a minimalist, it's easy to move. Moving is
Yeah,
easy
yeah.
because you don't
Yeah.
Mm,
have a lot of
true,
stuff.
true. Mm, true.
Um, I love books.
Mm,
We had this tiny condo, and oh yeah, I know we're feeling each other at the Loretta. We just you know I had books. I didn't have bookshelves, so what I did was I used the floor as my
mm.
bookshelf, the corner of the floor and the wall, and I would line up books there, and then I would put the books on the shelf, which was under the TV, and then I put the books against some other books against the other wall. It
Ah,
drove my
ah.
wife nuts, you
Ah!
know. We would I've got you can't see it, but next to my desk, there's a little bookshelf, and then on one of the shelves in here in where I live, it's filled with books also,
Can we
and
see
books
it,
and books.
Andres? Can we see
Um,
your books?
um, well, like
You're
I
so
said last week, not now, but like I said
Ah,
last week, if anybody wants to come over and look at my desk and see what
Yeah.
it's like, you can also come over,
Uh,
and then you can see what what my books are like, but
You're a
like
space
I,
minimalist also. Space
oh,
minimalist,
Yeah.
absolutely,
no?
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ah,
But and when I move, I have to get rid of books because one thing that I don't like about the Philippines actually is that a lot of young people they read for leisure, especially
mm,
the teenage girls and the girls in their
mm,
20s. They read the romantic books
Mm.
and but when a lot of Filipinos, it seems, when they become adults, they just don't have time to read. Um, so they don't read for leisure, and I read for I read for leisure, and I also read to
For
continue to educate myself. I don't just read fiction; I also read history
self-help
and
books. Yeah.
politics.
Mm.
Yeah, and books can be expensive. You go
Yeah,
to
correct.
true, true.
you go
Mm,
to you buy a brand new hardbound
mm.
book at
Very
fully
expensive.
booked
Mm,
bookstore. It can
mm,
cost you more than 1,000 pesos. And
mm.
so that's the thing. My wife can't stand that. She's like, you're spending all this money on on all these books, and then all they do is take up space, and I'm gonna get in trouble, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Uh, my response is like, you watch, Filipino television, okay? TV in the Philippines. Okay, so
Drama.
no
Korean
offense.
drama.
Yeah.
No, no,
Telenovela.
no, 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 no. I'm not talking about K drama. I'm talking about Filipino TV. We're talking
Eh,
about the low budget, low quality, the cops shooting the drug dealers, or the monsters,
Telenovela.
or
Telenovela.
or worse. Yeah, the worst is the telenovelas, which we also say in Spanish, the telenovelas. My wife
mm.
loves that stuff, and she watches that stuff. So she complains about me and my books, and I tell her, "You are too intelligent to watch those telenovelas." But hey, that's what marriage is, right?
Yeah.
Your spouse has things that drive you crazy, but you stay with them uh, anyway. But and just quickly, I don't know if you guys remember. Now that we're on the subject of TV, because I love theater, I love television, I love movies.
Mm.
I don't know if you guys remember Bagani.
Yeah.
Bagani.
Yeah,
Bagani.
yeah,
Bagani.
it was a
Bagani. That's
TV
one
show, and
TV show. One of the
yeah, yeah,
telenovelas of it. One of the
yeah. Which I thought. So let me critique, just briefly. I'll critique Filipino entertainment, and then I'll praise Filipino entertainment. So first, the
Okay.
critique. I thought Bagani was really silly because it's all these stories based on indígena myths, but like
Yeah.
everybody there is half white or they look white, and English is their best language, and all the characters they're playing are indigenas. Okay, whatever. And so that's my criticism. Now here's my praise. My praise, just really quickly, there are three movies that every Filipino, I think, needs to see in the
Mm.
following order. You should even, history teachers should show this in their history classes too. The first is General Luna,
Yeah,
which
Luna.
is
yeah,
on
Yeah.
which is on
Yeah.
yes,
We
Netflix. You
watched
should
yes.
that.
definitely see it. You should
Mm.
also see Goyo, which is the sequel,
Goyo.
Oh, yeah.
and another film which came out earlier but takes place later. So you should see this third, but it's harder to find. Well, I'm sure you could go to the market in you could find the pirated DVD copy over there at Davao City Hall. Um, is called Quezon's Game, and it's
Quezon's
about
Quezon.
game.
Mm.
yes, and it's about El Presidente Manuel Quezon,
Ah,
and he saved.
the first
Uh,
president of the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
well, but he died before the Philippines could become independent,
Yes.
and he saved 2,000 Jews from Hitler.
Yeah, true, true.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
yeah.
true.
yeah, yeah,
And
and
I think that's the reason why Filipinos are not required to have a visa in going to Israel. That's
Right,
their
that's
way.
right. Because of
That's
him.
their way
Because of
of
him. That's
expressing their
one of the few
yeah, yeah,
countries where Filipinos can travel
yeah, yeah.
visa
True.
free.
That's true. Mm.
And also, just quickly, there's a book. You got me talking about history. That's why I'm talking about all this history. There's a book I highly recommend called Rampage, and
Rampage. Mm.
it's written by an American, and it's about World War II. It's
Mm.
about when General MacArthur left Manila
Mm.
because he knew he 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 knew that he would lose the battle against the Japanese. So he thought Japan would just come, but they didn't. They occupied the city and they did horrible things, which I won't repeat here. But then MacArthur came back, and then
Maybe.
in a battle, these were Americans and Filipino guerrillas fighting together against the Japanese. They took Manila back. The Japanese had completely just destroyed Manila, just destroyed it completely. There's a museum in Manila which is trying to keep the memory of the Battle of Manila alive. That's what the book is about. The book is called Rampage, but it's about the Battle of
Rampage.
yes,
Mm.
but it's about the Battle of Manila. And some of you may remember. Some of the older viewers may remember that there was president of the Philippines, and there were I don't know how many, but there were some Japanese prisoners still in the Philippines,
Mm.
high ranking, I think, generals who were guilty of war crimes.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
this Filipino president, I forget
Ah.
which one, he pardoned them and he let them out
Mm.
of
of the
jail. And
Philippines.
yeah,
Mm.
and it's very beautiful what he said. He said after he pardoned them, he let them out of jail. He said, I do not want, and this even I got emotional when I read this, and I'm getting emotional now talking about it. But he said, and I'm not even Filipino, but but he said, I do not want my children and my grandchildren to have the same hate that I have for these people who may yet be our friends.
Wow.
And that's so there's a kind of minimalism in that too, in letting
Yeah,
go of pain, or
letting
Mm.
go.
yeah, or not giving your pain to others,
to others.
especially children. I'm not a
Mm.
parent, okay, but I do know that parents. But I've talked about the influence that my parents have on me, and I've talked
Mm.
about and to a larger degree, history has an influence on all of us.
Mm.
So again, another long answer, but the short answer is it's difficult to have a love of history and to be a minimalist because when you love history, you love artifacts,
Artifact.
um,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
and
Andres,
yeah,
you are even more well versed in terms
With
of
our
Philippine history than most of the Filipinos, I think.
So we will look for that book Rampage.
yes,
Yeah.
Rampage is it's
Yeah.
written by an American, and he's
Mm.
actually some Filipinos who have majored in history at
Ah.
university or who
Ah.
teach history. They are probably familiar with him, and they have probably read other
Ah.
books by him. He
Ah.
has probably read. He's
Mm.
probably I think he's written at least one other book about another point of history in the Philippines.
We
Yeah.
will do shortcut. We will ask our history friend
teacher friend.
teachers. Shortcut. Minimalist of time.
Can
Oh,
I
it's
ask one
seven. It's
more
seven.
question?
Yeah, yes. It's still 7:53, ate. It's still 7:53.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, Andres, aside from your love of history, do you also love pets? Do you have pets at home?
Um,
Pets.
yeah. Okay. I'm gonna anger a lot of people, but you cannot have pets and be a minimalist. You
Correct.
cannot. You
It's very
cannot have
Yes.
true.
pets and be
Okay,
a
we
minimalist.
understand.
Now, but before you say, Andres, oh, but you've never owned a pet before. Yeah, I have. I actually, some years ago, I had two dogs.
Mm.
When I was a little
Wow.
boy, I had a fish. Later
Wow.
in life, I had two dogs.
Mm.
I don't have them anymore. Um,
Mm.
you cannot be a minimalist and have pets.
Pets.
I
Mm.
might get hate for that,
Mm.
but that's a fact. I'm not
Yeah.
even going to
Right.
qualify it by saying, in my opinion. No, 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 no.
Mm.
You cannot be a minimalist and have pets. And
Pets.
look, yes, I make a lot of money for someone living in the Philippines. Yes, I live comfortably in the Philippines. Yes, I go to a Brisa Mall, and I'll tell you what sometimes to eat something or do whatever, and I'll tell you what I see at a Brisa Mall. I
Mm.
see people walking their dogs with diapers on the dog. I see people, which is required for the cleanly to maintain the cleanliness of the mall. I see people pushing their dogs in strollers,
Mm.
um, and I'm not judging. And my intention is not to judge anyone. But
Mm.
Correct.
whenever I go to the mall and I come back from the mall, I see people on the street who are homeless. I see sometimes children on the street who are homeless. And I feel it is, and this happens in the United, and look, we can criticize the United States, the richest country in the world, but there's still a lot of poverty. Hey, you want to do another show on that? You want to attack my country? I'll be the first person to attack my own country. I really will. Okay, I haven't lived in the United States for 8 years now. I do not want to go back. Okay, but anyway, it really should anger it should anger us that there are these people putting so much of their emotion and their money and their time into
Pets.
this pet when there are so many people in the Philippines who who don't even have sandals, don't even have flip-flops. They're walking around barefoot and they're asking for money. So,
Mm. Begging for
uh,
money.
yeah. So, look, minimalism is not something that privileged white people like myself do because it's cool or interesting. No, 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 no. I take this uh, seriously. Be, but again, going back to I think our very first talk 2 weeks ago, it kind of comes naturally to me. I'm just not attracted to and this is another reason my mother and I don't get along. Drives my mom nuts. You know, my mom's like, Mijo, why don't you dress better? Why don't you look nicer? And I'm just like, and I'm just like, you know, Mama, I ain't into that. And I think I know I've thought it. I don't know if I've ever told it to my father, but I think I told him one time. I said to him, you know, Papa, this is the big difference between. Well, I'll say it now. If Dad, if you're watching, I'm like, look, Papa, this is one of the big differences between you and me. You really
Mm.
want money. I don't. And 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 when I do want money, it's for different reasons than you want money. You
Mm.
want money because you want money. I want money just because I don't want to be stressed. I don't want to worry about my bills. I just want to have. I want. I want to be rich, and I want to have more than enough, so that way I really don't worry about anything. Um, if you have a pet right now, you know, okay, you don't have to get rid of your pet. I'm not saying get rid of your pet now, give your pet away, but you cannot be a minimalist and have pets, and
Yeah.
it's really it's really not um, I don't think it's a good thing where you see, especially in a poor country like the Philippines, where a lot of people
mm,
don't even have enough to eat. You see
mm,
people giving all of this time and money and their emotions
mm,
and their
mm,
lives to
mm,
these pets. And just quickly, another thing, I lived in Taiwan for 4 years. I was exposed to Buddhism quite a bit, and I mentioned the monk who died a few days ago, Thich Nhat Hanh. You know, for someone who has been exposed to Buddhism in the ways that I have been, it really it annoys me when people in North America and Europe say, "Oh, Buddhism is so cool," it looks so cool, it looks so interesting, and I'm not saying that because I'm a Catholic. I'm saying that because I lived in a Buddhist place for over 4 years, and so when I hear them say that, I feel what I think is, okay, you know what? Don't eat meat. Uh, don't have sex, and shave your head, because Buddhist monks and Buddhist nuns also
mm.
shave their heads.
Yes.
And do that for a year. Do those three things for 1 year, and then you tell me how cool you think uh,
Mm,
Buddhism is.
mm,
And that's kind of a challenge. You see, for me, it's so easy for me to judge, and and I don't want to be unfair, and I don't want to come across
Mm-mm.
as judging people, because, like I said, minimalism is very easy for me to do. A combination of maybe I was born that way, and may I was just, my life has made me that way. One or the other, a combination of both. Um, but for others, and I'm not judging, I know I keep saying that, but it's because I want to emphasize that. For some people, it is difficult to be a minimalist. It's hard to not chase money. It's hard to not chase career. It's hard to see those things in the store or on your phone and not want it. And when you want something, it's hard to say no. I mean, when you're a kid, it's hard to say no. When you're adult, it's still hard to say no. Uh, so again, another long answer, but the simple answer is, uh, you cannot be a minimalist and have pets.
pets.
It's quite
Yeah.
expensive, really, the food, and even when you let when the dog, especially those breed dogs, no, when they get sick,
Sick.
very expensive in the,
Oh,
yeah, we go
yeah,
to the
yeah.
veterinarian. Okay,
Ah.
so it's 8:02, and would like to thank
Wow.
Andres. No, no, maybe we can be you can be with us uh, later part of this year. We hope so, no? And then we really thank you, Andres, for sharing a very beautiful life experience, how it is to live a minimalist life, and then
Mm,
we really learned many things from you. Ati Rose and
mm.
Ate Mers, would you mind saying your parting words before I will also play our teaser for the next month's episodes? Okay,
Okay,
Ate Rose?
really, I learned a lot from you, Andres, no? And thank you very much for your openness, no? For your, you're very witty, no? And funny,
Thank
but
you.
you gave us a lot to think about. Thank you very much. And I hope our viewers are also able to learn, no? From what Andres had shared to us for the last three Tuesdays. There were
Three
three, no?
Tuesdays.
Three.
Yeah,
Oh,
three
okay.
Tuesdays.
Thank you very much, Andres. Maybe we
Oh,
will
thank
see each
you.
other again, no?
I hope so.
Uh,
Yes.
uh, okay, Mers, yours.
Ate Mers.
So, Andres, thank you very much. So, like Rose, I also learned a lot from you. And I hope that you will be able to find real happiness here in the Philippines with your family and also with the people that you are engaging to, especially with, I hope you will be able to engage also with the young people so that they can also
Mm,
learn a lot from you.
mm.
Oh, thank you. And I would
Thank
like to
you.
end this the evening, the challenge of Mr. Andres Chang for all of us. If you have something in your house, in your home that you really want to give us a gift, I wish that we could do that. No, even there is no occasion, we just give it out. Especially the things na sa Tagalog, I will say in Tagalog, and na matagal na nating tinatago and it's very difficult for us to let go. And that is the challenge of Mr. Andres Chang to all of us. No, let us let go of the things na minsan we just do it, no, a decoration in our different houses, but other people need it. Okay, good evening, everyone.